Part 175. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1741. Long Ji held my hand tightly. Lu Su, you must bring Tianqian back, she is. I frowned and asked, but what? Long Ji's voice paused and he quickly said, no. It's nothing. I saw that Long Ji didn't want to say anything, so I didn't continue to ask. I turned back to look at Zhao Mian and said, it seems we can't delay this matter any longer. Let's go together. Zhao Mian nodded. Just when Zhao Mian and I were leaving, Xiao He suddenly appeared. He was covered in blood and must have been seriously injured. Boss, I'll go with you too. Why are you going? If you are so seriously injured, wouldn't it cause more trouble if you go? Xiao He waved his hand and said, my injury is not serious. I will recover later. Boss, think about it. The underworld is so big. How long will it take you to walk? I will transform into my true body and take you many times convenient. I was slightly startled. Seeing Xiao He's serious injury, I still didn't want to agree. Zhao Mian said on the side, let him go, maybe he can really help. I sighed. Okay, let's go together. If you want to go to the underworld, you must find the intersection of yin and yang. Su Tianqian took me to the underworld before. Now I need to find it myself. But fortunately Zhao Mian knew this place. Soon, Zhao Mian took Xiao He and me to a large mountain in the eastern suburbs of Tianfu City. We walked through the woods. Wait a minute and follow me so you don't fall behind. Zhao Mian said to me. I nodded and followed Zhao Mian. I didn't know how long I had been walking, but suddenly fog began to appear around me, and the visibility suddenly decreased. We can only grope in the fog. After walking for about half an hour, the fog gradually disappeared. Then, an antique inn appeared in front of me. Yin Yang Inn. There is more than one Yin Yang Inn in the world. Each one leads to the underworld. I came to the Yin Yang Inn and reached out to push the door open. The first floor of the inn was deserted, except for tables, chairs, and benches. Not a single living thing could be seen. It stands to reason that every inn will have a boss. Where did the boss go? Just when I was wondering, one figure after another suddenly appeared all around. The figure slowly solidified. A sneer twitched at the corner of my mouth. This underworld really looks down on me. I actually let these underworld soldiers stop me. A ghost general stood up and drew a long knife, pointed it at me, and said, Lu Su, you can't run away, hurry up and capture me, otherwise. Before he finished speaking, I held my right hand in the air, and Jing Xiao appeared in my hand out of thin air. I waved my hand casually, and a golden sword energy shot through the air, directly killing the ghost general who gave the order. The ghost will immediately be in a state of panic. The other Yin soldiers looked frightened when they saw this. I pinched the seal of the 9 layers Thunder Ju with my left hand, and then merged the power of the Thunder Ju into the body of the Jingxiao sword. Thunder and lightning erupted from the Jingxiao sword. My figure disappeared in a flash. Suddenly, the sound of bursts of thunder and lightning burst through the air. In less than a minute, I had eliminated all the evil soldiers in the inn. Zhao Mian looked at me in surprise and said, I didn't expect that your Taoism would become so profound. I smiled and said, it's just so. At this time, dull footsteps came from the second floor of the inn. The footsteps became clearer from far to near. I frowned and subconsciously looked towards the second floor. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1742. I saw a familiar figure come into my eyes. Lu Su, let's stop here. Don't move forward. Xiang Yi said to me. Xiang Yi, are you going to be my enemy? I looked at Xiang Yi with complicated eyes. Xiang Yi shook his head and said, no, I am thinking about your safety. The underworld is heavily guarded. The 10 Yin commanders, the 4 great judges, Mengpo, the 10 palaces of Yama, the 5 ghost emperors, Ksatagarbha Bodhisattva and the Fengdu emperor are all waiting for you to take the bait. In addition, millions of underworld soldiers are also waiting for you. Moreover, the underworld has made the worst plan. If you can really defeat them, they will open the 18th level of hell. By then, all the evil spirits in the 18 levels of hell will escape. You don't know the consequences of the evil spirit coming out, do you? I was shocked. Emperor Fengdu did everything he could to kill me. There are countless evil spirits imprisoned in the 18 levels of hell. Once the 18 levels of hell are opened, then these evil ghosts will definitely rush out of the underworld and go to the human world, and then the human world will definitely experience a bloody storm. Lusu, even if you don't think about yourself, you still have to think about the people of Liming, right? I looked at Xiangyi and said, I have made up my mind. You don't need to persuade me. Even if the evil ghost comes to the world, I will have a way to solve it. Xiangyi sighed slightly. I took this opportunity and asked, tell me, why did you betray me before? Panic flashed in Xiangyi's eyes. I continued, I have never blamed you, but I don't understand. We have been friends for such a long time. Why don't you tell me what happened to you? Maybe we can face it together, let's solve it together. Xiangyi was silent for a long time and said, my soul is in the hands of Emperor Fengdu, so I am a soulless ghost from beginning to end. Common sense, you can't live without a soul. However, Xiangyi's soul did not disappear, but was in the hands of Emperor Fengdu. In other words, Xiangyi can exist in the world. In the beginning, I was just a chess piece arranged by Emperor Fengdu to monitor you. But, as time goes by, I find that you are not as bad as I thought. You have setbacks along the way, but you never thought of giving up. Sadness, happiness, pain, you have experienced it all. Every time I thought you would be hit by setbacks, you stood up again. It's ridiculous to say that I actually regard you as a brother. Xiangyi whispered to me because of the guilt in her heart. Do not talk. I interrupted Xiangyi, stretched out my hand towards Xiangyi and said, I will not pursue the past. Believe me, I can help you get your soul back. Xiangyi looked at me blankly. He hesitated for a while and walked down from the 2nd floor, stretched out his hand and held mine. Good. Xiangyi agreed. Sometimes men don't need to be so pretentious. There is no need to go into a lengthy discussion about things that can be solved in a few words. I smiled at Xiangyi and said, this time I pulled you into the pirate ship. Xiangyi smiled bitterly and said, yes. If we don't get this right, we will lose our minds. Scared. How can it be? Xiangyi and I looked at each other and smiled and said nothing more. Let's go, take me to the gate of hell. Xiangyi nodded. We left the inn, with Xiangyi leading me to Gaiman Pass. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1743. Xiangyi led us to a deserted land. The surroundings were bare and lifeless, with no life in sight. After walking for about 10 minutes, a huge city gate suddenly appeared in the darkness not far away. Xiangyi stopped and said to me, the gate of hell is closed in front, and the 16 ghost kings Shentuyole are guarding it. Shentuyole and the 16 ghost kings usually don't appear, but it's different today. They caught them Su Tianxian. I knew you were coming, so I was waiting for you here. I have met Shentu before, and he wants to make a deal with me. Shentuyole is one of the 2 great gods believed by the people, and he is also the Eastern Ghost Emperor among the 5 Ghost Emperors. The 2 Ghost Emperors rule Dozai Mountain and Ghost Gate. There are not 5 ghost emperors in the 5 directions, there are 2 of them in the east, west, north, middle and 4 directions. Shentu Yole is very strong. If I had met him before, I would definitely take a detour, but it is different now. Well, I understand. Xiangyi asked, what should I do? Take a detour or? I waved my hand and said, no need to take a detour, just rush in. Xiangyi raised his eyebrows and asked, are you serious? I nodded and said, of course I'm serious. Zhao Mian said quietly on the side, I've become so awesome lately. Of course the little ghost emperor doesn't take him seriously. I looked at Zhao Mian and couldn't help but said, is there anyone who makes such weird introductions as you? Yo yo yo. Zhao Mian continued to say in a strange tone, you are so impatient when someone praises you a few words, so don't praise me anymore. I rolled my eyes, too lazy to talk nonsense to Zhao Mian. The few of us quickened our pace and rushed towards the gate of hell. Just as I was approaching the gate of hell, I saw 16 huge figures. When I walked in, I saw that the 16 huge figures were the 16 ghost kings. Each of the 16 ghost kings had green faces and fangs, pale faces and vicious looks on their brows. In addition, they are as big as a small giant. I stood in front of them no higher than their feet. The 16 ghost kings looked at me condescendingly. I said coldly, let Shentu Yulei come out. The 16 ghost kings all laughed sinisterly. Jajaja. Lu Su, you are so arrogant. Do you need to ask the 2 ghost emperors Shentu and Yulei to come forward to deal with you? I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with them. Now that Su Tianxian has been arrested and his life and death are unknown, I must find him quickly. I glanced at Xiao He. Xiao Haizhen understood. He took the sword box from his back and placed it on the ground, then opened the sword box. I waved my hand casually, and the immortal killing sword rose into the sky. The expressions of the 16 great ghost kings immediately turned extremely ugly when they saw the Zuxian sword. The immortal killing sword. I gave them a chance before, but if they don't cherish it, then I can't blame them. With the thought, I cast 9 Eyes Heavenly Domain. The domain expanded, directly covering the entire Gaiman Pass. I slowly took a step forward, and a heart-stopping pressure instantly filled the 9 Eyes Heaven realm. Bang bang bang. The 16th Ghost King fell to his knees directly. The scope of the 9 Eyes Heaven realm is directly proportional to my own strength. Now, my strength has grown, and the scope of the 9 Eyes Heaven realm has reached an unprecedented height. Here, I have control over everything. I held the Zuxian sword in my hand and walked towards the 16th Ghost King. When I came to one of the Ghost Kings, I raised the immortal killing sword in my hand and slowly lowered it. The sword falls, the sword energy spreads freely. Countless sword energies were like a meat grinder, grinding the Ghost King's soul into pieces. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1744. After this move, all the dark soldiers and ghost generals present were completely shocked. Xiangyi looked at me with wide eyes and disbelief. He asked with a trembling voice, Lu Su, you. I looked back at Xiangyi and asked, what's wrong? Xiangyi took a deep breath and said, Lu Su, how come your strength? I waved my hand and said, don't be surprised, everyone will grow and cannot remain the same. The same goes for strength. If my previous Taoism was like a grain of white rice and my current Taoism is like a vast ocean, there is no comparison at all. Now that I have gained strength, I have the confidence to do things, and I can no longer be as timid as before. Moreover, the underworld captured Su Tianxian and Huaxiu. This is tantamount to touching my reverse scales. Even if I die today, I will turn the entire underworld upside down. Xiangyi smiled bitterly. It seems I was overthinking it before. It's the underworld I should really be worried about, not you. Xiangyi said it right. He should be worried about the underworld, not me. Even if I alone cannot shake the entire underworld, Zhao Mian is here. I feel like there's nothing we can't do if we work together. Just as Xiang Yi and I were talking, a powerful yin energy suddenly burst out from the Gaiman Pass. This yin energy spreads towards the surroundings like a tide. The howling wind made my clothes rustle. I looked in the direction where the yin qi was coming from. I saw two sedans driving slowly toward me. The sedan is not a red-topped sedan but a completely black sedan. There are 4 skeletons on the 4 corners of the sedan roof, which look scary and weird. 2 dark sedans stopped in front of me. Then, the curtains of the sedans opened, and Shentu Yulei walked out of the sedan. Shentu and Yulei looked at me with cold eyes. The two sides were silent for a while, and Shentu spoke first. Lusu. Who gave you the courage to break into my underworld? Kill the 16 ghost kings of my underworld. Shentu's voice was cold, like thunder exploding in my ears. This sound made my ears ring. Show off your power? I looked at Shentu and said coldly, the 16 great ghost kings are just the beginning, you two will not escape death. Yulei scolded, what a loud tone. As soon as the words fell, a strong yin qi erupted around the two of them. The next second, Shentu appeared out of thin air with colorful armor. Against the background of the battle armor, Shentu has a majestic face and a powerful posture. In addition, Shentu also holds a golden halberd in his hand. Yulei wore a black shirt, stretched out his hand, and a golden-eyed white tiger appeared beside him. He stretched out his hand to caress the huge golden-eyed white tiger sitting next to him. His expression was indifferent, and he did not care about it at all. I take it seriously. Shentu Yulei was a door god before, and the reason why he became a door god is inseparable from their ability to catch ghosts. Over the long years, the strength of Shentu and Yulei has long been unfathomable. Now the connection between the tombs of the gods and the secular world has been temporarily severed. However, all the gods in the underworld are true entities, because heaven and underworld are 2 worlds. Xiang Yi whispered beside me, be careful, that golden-eyed white tiger is very powerful. I looked at the golden-eyed white tiger. This white tiger is huge in size, with flowing hair. It sits there majestically, which invisibly gives me a great sense of oppression. Rest assured. I spoke to Xiang Yi. Shentu Yulei did not hesitate and attacked me directly. End of chapter. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1745. Yulei waved his hand casually, and the huge golden-eyed white tiger pounced towards me. The golden-eyed white tiger is huge, and its claws could probably kill me directly. Moreover, the speed of the golden-eyed white tiger is so fast that it is difficult to catch it with the naked eye. My face condensed, my thoughts moved, and I used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain. The realm of heaven unfolded, once again covering the gate of hell. At the same time, the golden-eyed white tiger had already arrived in front of me. My figure flashed and disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already standing on top of the golden-eyed white tiger. The golden-eyed white tiger was stunned for a moment when he saw me disappear, and the next second he noticed that I was above his head. Roar! The golden-eyed white tiger let out a low roar, then rampaged like crazy trying to throw me off his back. I waved my hand casually, and the ground where the golden-eyed white tiger was instantly turned into a pool of blood. The golden-eyed white tiger did not react and immediately fell into the blood. It was like half drowning and struggling wildly in the bloody water. This blood water is the sea of ghosts and ghosts. I can use all my abilities in conjunction with each other, so that I can make up for a lot of shortcomings. I picked up the 9 layers Thunder Dew with one hand. As I needed the secrets and recited the mantra, thick thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air in the gray sky above the underworld. Thunder and lightning streaked across the night sky, making the entire ghost gate look bright. I raised my hand and turned it into a palm, and struck the golden-eyed white tiger under me with one palm. When my hand touched the golden-eyed white tiger, countless thunder and lightning fell down from the sky. Boom! Thunder boomed, and sparks and lightning lit up in the darkness. I took this opportunity to move to another location. When the world returned to calm, the golden-eyed white tiger had been struck by lightning and was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Black smoke was emitting from its huge body. Seeing this, Shentu Yulei's face changed slightly. I walked towards Shentu Yulei. I said, "The 16 Ghost Kings are just the beginning. From now on, every one of you in the underworld will have to pay for the mistakes you have committed. At this point, I can no longer be as indecisive as before. I have to be ruthless to accomplish this. Su Tianxian protected me very well before. Now that I have the strength, I must say goodbye to my former self. And this trip to the underworld is my farewell ceremony." Shentu looked at me and said, "Lu Su, I regret not killing you the first time we met, so that you have grown up to have the ability to kill gods." I shook my head at Shentu and said, "If you do it again, you will still do that, because in your eyes, I was just a chess piece at the mercy of others, and your god is a god like other gods. The common problem is arrogance." Shentu was speechless by what I said. I took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I don't want to talk nonsense to you anymore." I picked up the magic whip from Xiao Hei's hand. The magic whip is 3 feet, 6 inches long and has 21 sections. Each section has 4 talismans, for a total of 84 talismans. And these 84 talismans can be used individually. Shentu, Yulei, and finally looked panicked when they saw the magic whip in my hand. I said to Shentu Yulei, "Don't worry, I won't let your souls fly away. I will keep your status as gods and take out half of your souls and send them to reincarnation." Shentu Yulei looked puzzled after hearing my words. "Lu Su, what exactly do you want to do?" I walked towards Shentu Yulei step by step with the whip in hand. "You don't understand what I want to do now, but you will know it later." End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1746. Some gods will perform calamities. Every time a calamity occurs, a deity is reincarnated as a mortal. Some are directly descended to earth, and some are reincarnated as a ray of soul. The gods and the others have broken away from the shackles of the physical body. Therefore, their souls can exist independently without relying on the body to maintain life activities. Even if this method doesn't work, I can directly send them to reincarnation. At worst, there is no one in the underworld. After I said this, I disappeared directly. Shentu Yulei instantly became alert. I used the ability of Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain to appear behind Shentu Yulei. I raised my hand to hit the magic whip. The body of the whip is emitting a dazzling golden light. Shentu Yulei turned around suddenly when he noticed the golden light. Looking at the whip that was about to fall, the two people's expressions changed dramatically. Shentu Yulei wanted to dodge sideways, but at this moment, the divine whip suddenly burst out with a frightening sense of oppression. Immediately afterwards, an awe-inspiring aura spread around with the divine whip as the center. In an instant, the entire underworld seemed to be trembling because of this awe-inspiring aura. The divine whip fell hard. Bang! Shentu was knocked to the ground directly by me. Yulei was suppressed by the divine power of the divine whip and could not move. I looked back and whipped Yulei directly, sending Yulei flying away. I looked at the magic whip in my hand and was extremely horrified. It's a magical whip. This kind of divine power has never been seen before. Unheard of. Shentu Yulei struggled to stand up. With just one whip, the bodies of both of them were severely injured, and their souls were unstable. I believe that with one more whip, their souls would be gone. Lu Su. Shentu roared angrily. I can't believe it. We both fell into your hands today. I looked at Shentu coldly and said nothing. I waved my hand casually, and the list of gods spread out in front of me. I squeezed the formula with both hands, and the list of gods emitted a dazzling golden light. After the golden light dissipated, the names of Shentu and Yulei were shining. Those who were canonized on the list of gods were only listed after their death, because what was conferred on the list was their soul. The 365 righteous gods and 6 Western gods on the list were all conferred by their souls after death. Moreover, in the world of conferring gods, the last person to go to the conferring god stage to receive conferred gods should be the first soul embryo light among the 3 souls, that is, the heavenly soul whose attribute is heaven. The upgraded version of the spiritual light of the 3 souls can also accept conferred gods. As for the 7 souls, I am afraid they are not qualified to receive the title of God. They are only to maintain the existence of the physical body and do not retain the nature and mind of the immortal cultivator. In addition to this, the battle of the gods is a scam. The soul of anyone who is on the list of gods will be imprisoned in the list of gods. In the end, he became a wage earner in heaven. Now I just need to put Shentu Yulei's soul back into the list of gods. I finally understood why Zhao Mian insisted on letting me win the divine whip and the god list. As long as I have these 2 things, I will have the capital to fight against the gods. After I settle the matter in the underworld, I will go to the tomb of the gods for the final decisive battle. Zhangzia has already told me the formula on how to control the list of gods. I chanted a mantra quickly, and the next second, 2 golden ropes shot out from the list of gods. The rope rushed towards Shentu Yulei at an extremely fast speed. Shentu Yulei was tied up with the rope just as he wanted to escape. Immediately afterwards, a huge suction force came from the list of gods, directly sucking Shentu Yulei's soul into it. End of chapter. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1747. After Shentu Yulei's soul was sucked into the list of gods, I took back the list of gods. The Yin soldiers watching the battle saw that the 2 ghost emperors were no match for me, so they quickly abandoned their helmets and fled away. I came to Zhao Mian and Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi frowned, looked at me, and asked, Lu Su, I find that I can't understand you more and more. What are you going to do? I looked at Xiang Yi, hesitated for a moment and told Xiang Yi what I was thinking. After Xiang Yi heard what I said, his expression suddenly changed, and he looked at me in disbelief with his eyes wide open. Lu Su, are you kidding? Do you think I'm joking? Xiang Yi took a breath of cold air. Hiss. What a crazy idea you have. I smiled and said, this is not crazy. You don't know what I have been through these days. If you knew, you would understand why I adopted this method. Xiang Yi sighed and didn't say anything to me. Without further delay, let's rush to Fengdu City as soon as possible. I said to the 2 of them. The 2 nodded. The 3 of us passed through the gate of hell and arrived at Huangquan Road within a short distance. In the land of Huangquan, there are hundreds of miles of yellow sand and no vegetation, but manzushawa grows well here. I remember the first time I walked Huangquan Road, there were fragments of memories in my mind. At that time, I was very curious whether these memories were experienced by me personally. Now it seems that those memories are just one of my reincarnations. To be honest, I have a lot of memories in my head right now, which are so messed up that I don't even have time to sort them out. I will only pick up some of the memories I have to remember them, and put the other memories aside. I can't forget them anyway. There was no ambush on Huangquan Road, and we arrived at the end of Huangquan Road without any obstruction. The end of Huangquan Road is Nahi Bridge. There is a small pavilion next to Nahi Bridge. A beautiful figure stood in the pavilion. I was slightly startled. I remembered that Po Meng was not an old lady. Why are you so slim now? Soon, we arrived in front of the pavilion, and I took this opportunity to see clearly the true face of the beautiful figure in Mount Lu. The woman is very beautiful, with fair skin, straight facial features, and an indifferent expression between her eyebrows. She wore a long dark dress with some mysterious runes inlaid on the hem, which shimmered in her steps. Her eyes were deep and dark, as if she could see into the depths of the human heart. Is this Mengpo? I stared at the woman blankly. I came to my senses after a brief daze. Po Meng is also a fairy. Immortals can easily change their appearance. Maybe Mengpo is deliberately maintaining her current appearance. There was no surprise on Mrs. Meng's face when she saw us coming, as if she had expected it. Seeing that Mother Meng had no ill intentions, I said, since mother-in-law doesn't want to be my enemy, I will borrow the same road as Lu Su. Po Meng glanced at me faintly, and then set her sights on Zhao Mian. When their eyes met, Po Meng and Zhao Mian were both stunned on the spot. Po Meng's reaction was even more intense. Her delicate body was trembling slightly and her eyes were red. I looked at Po Meng and Zhao Mian with some surprise. Don't these two people have a story? Zhao Mian was also stunned for a moment. However, Zhao Mian quickly came to his senses. He opened his mouth and asked Po Meng, "What do you think I am doing?" End of chapter. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1748. The expression on Po Meng's face froze, and then a look of disappointment flashed in her eyes. No. Nothing. Zhao Mian curled his lips and said, "It's inexplicable." Po Meng no longer stared at Zhao Mian, but turned to look at me, and then said to me, "Su Tianqian is in Fengdu City, and they plan to sacrifice Su Tianqian and open the tomb of the gods." I frowned. As expected. This is the purpose of Emperor Fengdu. Po Meng continued, "I will not be your enemy, you can go." After saying that, Po Meng made way. I thanked Po Meng and walked towards Nahi Bridge. "Zhao Mian, do you know Po Meng?" Zhao Mian rolled his eyes and said, "Mother Meng, if you don't know anyone, just grab a random person and ask him if he knows Po Meng, and he will definitely say he does." Zhao Mian's words are really hard for me to refute. I could only organize my words and asked, "I mean, did anything happen between you and Po Meng? I feel that there is something different in the way he looks at you." Zhao Mian rolled his eyes again and said, "Please, what can happen to me and her? But I look the same as you. Maybe something happened between you and her, and then she recognized the wrong person." I was speechless for a moment. Zhao Mian's mouth is really poisonous. I can be sure that Po Meng did not recognize Zhao Mian as me, because Po Meng had met me before. When we first met, Po Meng looked very old, but this time she seemed to know that Zhao Mian would come with me, so deliberately changed into a young look. That's all, this matter isn't worth investigating in detail. Maybe Zhao Mian really has nothing to do with Po Meng. Even if there was, Zhao Mian probably wouldn't remember it. "Let's go," I said to Zhao Mian and Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi and I walked forward, but Zhao Mian stopped where we were. I turned back to look at him in confusion and asked, "What's wrong?" Zhao Mian looked in one direction, then lowered his head and made some calculations. After a while, he said to me, "You guys go ahead, I have something to leave for a while." I frowned and asked, "Leave? Are you going to backstab me?" Zhao Mian chuckled and said, "How could it be? How could I be that kind of person? Although I, Zhao Mian, am cunning and cunning, I still have principles. It's like, I say hello to you, but then I scold you behind your back and slander you. Then after I broke up with you, I still followed you secretly. Isn't this behavior?" I sighed helplessly. I have long been accustomed to Zhao Mian's behavior. "Okay, I'll go first." I turned around and said to Zhao Mian. Zhao Mian said yes, and then said to me in a solemn tone, "If you can't defeat Emperor Fengdu, just wait for me." However, it shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with Emperor Fengdu now, but you must pay attention to Ksitigarbha, because he is not on the list of gods. Zhao Mian is right. Ksitigarbha's status in Taoism is one of the four great kings, and his status is comparable to that of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Ksitigarbha is not on the list of gods, so the whip is ineffective against him. Zhao Mian waved his hand towards me and said, "I'm leaving, you can take care of yourself." After saying that, Zhao Mian turned and left. Xiang Yi and I walked in the opposite direction. Not far away, there seemed to be a few people standing on the road ahead. Because the distance was too far, I couldn't see clearly. When I walked in, I saw that there were indeed a few people. I couldn't tell who it was just by looking at the figure, but Xiang Yi could see it clearly. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1749. He whispered to me, he is one of the top 10 handsome men. Top 10 handsome men? Emperor Fengdu would not be so stupid as to let the top 10 shady men come to stop me. Let's see what they're doing. When he came to him, he was indeed one of the top 10 handsome men. The Ghost King, the Day-Wandering God, the Night-Wandering God, the Black and White Impermanence, the Bull's Head, the Horse's Face, the Leopard's Tail, the Bird's Beak, the Fish's Gills, and the Wasp are all here. Bai Vuchame took a step forward and said to me, "Lu Su, my emperor has invited me." I frowned. Is this an invitation for me to have a talk? Xiang Yi on the side held my hand and I looked at him. He shook his head at me and signaled me not to agree. Bai Wu often hesitated and continued, "Lu Su, you can choose not to go. There will be no Yin soldiers or Yin generals stopping you from here to Fengdu City. Instead of going on foot, you might as well take a sedan chair and we will take you there. Fengdu City is the destination of my trip." At first I thought Emperor Fengdu would set an ambush on the road. But it doesn't seem to be the case now. He should have called the 4 great judges and Yama of the 10th Palace to Fengdu City, intending to have a talk with me. If talks collapse, they can also take the opportunity to attack. I have to say that Emperor Fengdu had a plan. Rather than letting me break through one by one, let's do it together. Okay, I'll go with you, I said. Xiang Yi frowned and whispered in my ear, "Aren't you afraid of an ambush?" I nodded and said, "I'm afraid, but this trip is basically about burning the boat and risking death to survive. The entire underworld is my enemy. Whether there is an ambush or not, it doesn't matter." Xiang Yi nodded in agreement after hearing what I said. Later, Xiang Yi and I got on the sedan. 8 of the top 10 handsome men carried the sedan chair for me. This kind of behavior is extremely rare. How can a handsome man carry a coffin for a living person? It seems that Emperor Fengdu has given me enough respect. But I know that all these are illusory forms and are the result of the hypocrisy of Emperor Fengdu. On the sedan chair, I looked at Xiang Yi and asked, "If I take action with Emperor Fengdu later, what will happen to you and Mu Cheng?" Now Xiang Yi is on my side. If he breaks up with Emperor Fengdu, then Xiang Yi will also be on the opposite side of Mu Cheng. I can see Mu Cheng's love for Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi was silent for a moment and said, "There is nothing I can do. If she blames me, blame me. I have betrayed you once, and I will never betray you a second time." I was speechless and didn't know what to say. Xiang Yi stretched out her hand and rubbed her temples, and said, "Lu Su, I have no soul, so I have no memory. I don't know what I did when I was alive. I want to find my soul and my memory. As the saying goes, fallen leaves must return to their roots. I have lived for nearly 1,000 years, and I have been living in a state of confusion for a long time. Although, I have encountered many things and many people during these thousands of years. However, after all, I have lost the memory of being a human being. I want to get it back, even if I lose my soul because of it. Xiangyi has never told me about this matter. But I can also understand what Xiangyi did. Everyone has obsessions. Some people are obsessed with money. Some people are obsessed with power. Some people are obsessed with feelings. As for Xiangyi, he just wants to find his truest self. I reached out and patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, as long as I'm here, I will help you complete this matter." Xiangyi smiled and said, "I would have scoffed at what you said before, but now, I believe it." End of chapter. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1750. Xiangyi continued, "You have the ability to kill gods now. I have to repay your thigh. When your plan comes true one day, then hand over the entire underworld to me and let me be the great emperor of Fengdu. Then I have to thank you forever." Ha ha ha. I couldn't help but laugh. "As long as you are rich and noble, don't forget each other," I joked. Xiangyi and I started chatting. We talked a lot. While we were chatting, Xiangyi suddenly thought of something and lowered his voice and said to me, "Lu Su, do you know why Emperor Fengdu wanted to arrest Huaxiu?" I was startled, then shook my head and said, "I don't know." The expression on Xiangyi's face became more and more serious. His voice also became lower and lower. "One day, I secretly overheard Emperor Fengdu saying that your sister cannot turn into bones. I also know about this." Xiangyi motioned for me to calm down and continue listening to what he said. "Your sister is a royal princess, has royal blood, and has 1,000 years of Taoism. The above 3 points make your sister very special." "Special?" Xiangyi nodded and said, "Yes, it is very special. There have been many non-transformable bones in history, but none of these non-transformable bones are of royal blood. The immortal bones with royal bloodline will give birth to the holy bones of heaven." Heavenly holy bones. I searched frantically for this keyword in my mind. Finally found some information. Heavenly holy bones refer to the bones of people favored by God. But there are several hard conditions for growing such bones. The first condition is a person with royal blood and great fortune. The second condition is a person with destiny. The third condition is 1,000 years of cultivation. Huaxiu satisfies the first and third conditions. But secondly, I don't know whether Huaxiu is satisfied or not, because Huaxiu never told me her birthday. Wait, I seem to know Huaxiu's birthday and horoscope. Because I awakened the memory of that life, I know Huaxiu's birthday and horoscope. I just had to think hard to figure it out. I lowered my head and fell into thought. When Xiangyi saw that I was silent, he didn't continue. I thought about it for a long time and finally remembered this memory. It's a good thing I don't recall this memory. This thought shocked me. Huaxiu was born in winter, and everything was depressed at that time. However, after Huaxiu was born, green buds sprouted from the dead trees 10 miles away from the palace. Countless birds lingered in the sky above the palace, and there were auspicious clouds floating in the sky. I carefully calculated Huaxiu's birthday and horoscope. She turned out to be a God-given phoenix. The so-called phoenix destiny is a kind of emperor's destiny. This kind of fate can only work on women. This person is born to be a human phoenix. Although he is born as a woman, he can become an emperor. The name Huaxiu means Bei Huaxiu. The reason for taking this unlucky fate is to calm down Huaxiu's fate. At the same time, she was also afraid that Huaxiu would usurp power and become the first female emperor in the future. Thinking of this, even if I don't believe it in my heart, I have to believe that Huaxiu is the one who carries the holy bones of heaven. Heavenly holy bones are rare throughout history. I don't know exactly what it does. But judging from the fact that Emperor Fengdu captured Huaxiu, it must be related to the tomb of the gods. I took a deep breath, looked at Xiang Yi, and asked, continue. Xiang Yi nodded and said, I secretly heard Emperor Fengdu say that he wanted to use Huaxiu to restrict you. Restrict me? How to restrict me? End of this chapter.